Well, we're excited. This is episode 4 of our podcast, and we're excited that, from what we get to hear back, some patients have really appreciated having some of these conversations. Apparently, everybody loves Jissel. So Jissel is back today, and we have another guest. So maybe we can go around and just introduce everybody. I'm Dr. Walia. I'm the comprehensive ophthalmologist here at West Coast Eye Institute.
I'm Julia Castillo, the COO for West Coast Eye Institute.
I'm Catherine Codiroli, and I'm the surgical tech in the OR suite.
And I am Jissel, a tech here at West Coast Eye Institute.
Did you hear the confidence in Gissel's voice today?
I know.
One podcast in,
It's different. It's different now.
Just so everybody knows here, we officially have 10 followers, and we had one prior to the episode with Jissel, and now we have 10. So Jissel is.
It's all my family.
It's all.
I made them listen to the podcast.
She sent them the link and said, "You better like it right now."
Well, as we get to add a new teammate here, Kat and I have been operating for the last 8 years together. Kat's been the surgical scrub tech in our cataract room for, no pun intended, cataract Kat. Yeah. Thanks, Kat. They can't see you wink, by the way. This is a podcast, Kat.
It's not being recorded, just in case you were wondering. That brings on a whole new level of pressure.
But this is probably, I'm sure Julia knows this, Jissel probably doesn't. The first conception or the idea that we had of doing a podcast was actually with Kat and me, right? Remember
True.
that, Kat?
What?
Yes, this is true.
What was the name of the episode again?
I don't want to. Kat's episode when we introduced Kat was going to be Kat, that's my dog.
And I loved it.
But that was before that. It was Faco and cigarettes.
I feel like Kat's not sure she can say that, but the original podcast name that we used to have as a working title here, it was Faco and Cigarettes. Not the healthiest title for a medical podcast.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that.
What's the correlation? I don't get it.
It's a long story here, and we don't have enough
10 minutes.
time in this podcast for that. But, I saw a patient last week, and I thought of a conversation that kind of stemmed from it, and then maybe I can bring it back to the medical stuff. But we were talking today earlier in the operating room about how we handle stress. And so we have, and I jokingly say with Julie in the room, all ranges of life in this table here.
You don't get every time.
Not every time, Julie, just pretty often. We have all ranges of life where Jissel might have a very little worries in the scale of life response. No, she looks pretty stressed already, actually. But we all handle stress differently, and I think it's kind of one of those things in medicine. We know the value of handling stress. We know the value of having a support group. But, how do you handle stress, Jissel?
For me, the main thing I do is meditate every single day. Meditation is to me, it's very important because just the sound.
I feel like you're very embarrassed to admit that you meditate because I can hear what's going on. But
I'm not embarrassed, but I know a lot of people don't.
So what do you mean when you meditate? You just close yourself off into a room and everything off and try to meditate?
Meditation music in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's like a proper all-out meditation thing. Mm-hmm. What are you stressed about, Jissel?
A lot.
You got so much.
Yeah, what are you stressed about?
I just turned 18. I have to get my life together. So.
Okay.
The joys of just turning 18.
Yeah, and getting your life together.
I have to. I feel forced to get my life together.
You got plenty of time.
I think you're doing pretty well already.
Thank
You have a job.
Yeah, that's true.
50% of the battle there.
Kat, what were you doing when you were 18?
I was working for sure. I never not had a job, but I was hanging out with friends and trying to squeeze in trips out of town with my friends and barely making, rent.
Yeah.
That's very G-rated, Kat. I feel like there's a little bit more you were doing that you're maybe not telling us.
That's for Faco and cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's for that other
That's not for the 2020 experience.
Calm down, Julia.
Let's not let it all out on the first episode, Kat.
Well, in a different phase of life, so if I can say that. So Kat's a little different phase of life than Jissel, where you have kids, you have responsibility that's slightly different. How do you handle your stress?
Probably not the best.
Sure, like anything that you've ever tried that's been helpful. What do you think has been good?
I wish I could say I meditate, but I don't.
You have 2 children. You cannot meditate.
There's no time in my day to meditate. I like a glass of wine at night. That helps. And then I probably just go outside and get fresh air because sometimes I feel like the walls in my house are closing in on me and all the responsibilities, the clutter, and all the millions of animals we have and kids.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a common theme that most of us just try to get away a little bit, like reflect internally, right? Like I feel whether it's Jissel doing it privately with, Sade in the background. Do you know who Sade is?
Do you know who Sade is? I didn't think she would.
You should add it to your meditation rotation.
Oh, okay.
Meditation rotation.
You can find that on Spotify. No, I'm joking. Julia, how about yourself? How do you handle stress?
I go for a walk. I go hiking and I go for a walk. It's very simple. That's the only thing I ever do. If I'm stressed, I'll go for a walk. But I incorporate it in pretty much daily anyways. So it's not just for stress, but it's part of how I relieve my stress.
I feel like you guys all have pretty good habits, actually.
What about you, doctor?
I don't want to say
Bacos and cigarettes?
What?
I do not smoke cigarettes. Just for the official record. As a medical doctor, do not do that. No, I would say, well, I think those are all probably pretty good outlets. I mean, I'll be transparent. I probably stress eat. I feel like when like I need time to kind of think about something, like something to do mindlessly is just, I'll have like a small scoop of ice cream. Then it's become 4 bowls later. I'm like, oh, man, Jissel, you don't have to judge me with those.
No, sorry.
I mean, my God, Jissel.
I'm sorry, no.
There's a lot of judgment, man.
No.
But yeah, I think I stress eat. I think that's how I kind of unhealthily, but would be my coping idea of like, hey, I really, not that I'm thinking, but I'm have something stressful in the day. That's kind of how I would probably be my outlet.
Yeah.
And talking to my lovely wife, Kirthi, if you're listening, I obviously
Shout out to Kirthi.
Shout out to Kirthi. There's a lot of laughter from everybody here, but, right? So I feel like I have an unhealthy mechanism for it, but I think that there's value to having some outlet, right? Do you guys have a support group that you typically like? Who's your go-to person when you're like, I've got to pick up the phone and talk to somebody? Who is it? Who's your go-to person, Julia?
I think it's Chris, for sure. Well, I know it's Chris. I don't think it's Chris. I know it's Chris. He's the person who has to hear. Chris is my husband. Has to hear anything that I'm going through, but not so much anymore. I think more when I was younger. Like I would reach out to him and say, "Oh my God, I'm having such a bad day," or "I'm doing this, I'm doing that." But not anymore. You kind of just talk about it at night while you're together. But it's not an urgency as it was more so when I was younger.
Can Chris know that the stressful conversation coming up? Like he can tell by the tone. He's like, "Oh, let me put down my remote control."
No, I don't think so. I think it kind of builds to, oh, let me tell you about today. So he doesn't initially know it's going to be stressful, and then I'll tell him about it, and he'll like, ooh, and that's it. Not much.
Kat, who's your outlet?
It kind of depends on the topic of stress, because I'm really close with my mom, and I talk to her about a lot of stuff, but she's also the same personality as me, so I know if I talk to her about something that's going to worry her, then I don't want to worry her on top of my worry.
Yeah.
And then obviously Curtis, my husband, we talk a lot about work-related stress and kid stuff and family stuff. But if it's something that I feel like it's going to kind of overwhelm anybody else, I usually will talk to my sister. She's pretty level-headed in the same kind of stressors that we have, both being mothers. And
is she very similar to your personality, or is it kind of like a different voice of reason?
No, we're similar in some ways, but she's I think we definitely have enough differences where she can give me like an objective piece of advice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Jissel?
I want to say my brother.
You said it like a question, though. Are you sure that can't feel like
it's because usually
she doesn't want us to say anything to Brenda.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say anything to Brenda either.
About Brenda,
she'd be like, "Get it together."
No, oh yeah, she would definitely say that.
We got to lift up the curtain. Brenda is Gissel's sister, who also works here at West Coast Eye Institute. And the dynamic is very interesting. And Brenda is very much the older sister, and Jissel is very much the younger sister. So, if you go to your brother as your outlet?
Yeah, because usually I don't know. I just can't talk to no one about like my stress or what I'm feeling. But when I do, it would be my brother.
What,
yeah.
Not mom or dad?
My mom, it just, like I said, I usually don't. But my brother, I feel like he would understand me more.
I was going to say, be cautious, because we don't want to lose followers here. Jissel.
Oh.
It's all your family.
My mom and dad too.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom and dad too. Now that I think about it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, you
good
added it.
reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Press that like button.
And follow and share.
Follow, share.
Well, the reason we're talking about stress is, look, we all have our own life problems, and Julia and I talk about a lot that, we have life outside of work, and there's always stress from that sort of stuff, but there's actually stress that can build up in the eye. So there's a disease called central serous chorioretinopathy, and it's essentially stress in the eye. And I had a patient come in. He was a 42-year-old gentleman that I saw at one of our satellite sites, and he's like, my vision's blurry, I just need a new pair of glasses. But you actually build up fluid underneath your retina. And it's because oftentimes you're taking some sort of steroid hormone because of maybe immunosuppression or actual medication, or you're releasing too much cortisol in your system, which can be medically disease related or actually just stress induced, right? And so literally you can change your vision from having stress going on. So your retina will change its shape. It often will self-resolve. But it's kind of a hard conversation because I had this with the patient. And I said, hey, you're just stressed out. You've got to kind of, relax. And he's like, well, all right, what should I do? And I'm like, I have no idea what I should tell you to do. Like, talk to Giselle's brother for all I get. I don't know what the hell to do, right? I mean, go eat a bowl of ice cream. So it's kind of a weird comment. We don't talk about stress because, we all feel like it's my problem. I don't want to share it. But it's nice to have somebody else that you can talk to. I mean, Kat's my therapy session every Wednesday. Kat, you're nodding a little too hard there. You didn't have to do that, right?
I forgot to mention you in my Who Do I Talk To?
We'll save that for the next episode. Kat, that's my dog. Yeah. But yeah, so we don't talk about stress. We don't talk about like, hey, I am stressed out. And then more importantly, when you do, a lot of people will just listen because, that's what they feel like it's to do. But that may not be the right structure, right? Like, how do you create a system so you don't build up this stress to a point where you literally almost blow a gasket in your eye in a sense, and you start to build up fluid and you change your vision. So I think it's helpful to think about it. CSR in short, central serous chorioretinopathy. Like I said, it's often self-limiting. It's really common in young men, 40 years old, and I see that's young Giselle, not 18. But like 40 and younger, type A personalities can often get stressed out. They build up this serous fluid, meaning like a clear fluid underneath the retina. It changes the glasses prescription. It changes the vision quality. And if you don't clear the fluid long enough, the cells that are sitting on top of it, like the peak of the mountain, if you can imagine like there's a bubble of fluid and the peak of the mountain, that tissue is not getting a good blood supply, and it could actually start to permanently get slightly altered. So it's a good conversation. Like, who is your stress point? Who's your stress outlet? Do you eat a bowl of ice cream? Do you eat 10? Do you pick up the phone and talk to your brother? Do you have somebody at work where you'll say, I know I'm not going to get judged on this topic and I can actually just have it? So that's kind of the focus for today. I think we're all done for this topic, but hopefully you guys learned, and maybe you'll call your moms immediately after, or Chris, and go from there.
Or go for a walk.
Or ice cream.
Or meditate.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
Meditate.
Oh, yeah.
About that
Don't
one.
forget.
Yeah. I already forgot all about that. Nah. I'm just joking. All right, we'll see you guys for the next episode. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.